Altamirano is much more of a newer fixture on the scene. Tim Elliott is time tested, bro. But before we talk about the actual X's and O's of this fight, let's talk about some of the surrounding stuff without getting into detail because that's not really important right now. Tim Elliott has been in the news recently, the news cycle, and it's not been anything fight related. It's actually been personal life related, divorce from UFC fighter Gina Bazani, just a bunch of crazy drama involving Glory MMA, James Krause, Kevin Kroom. We're not here to break that down, but just know that the last couple of weeks, if not month, has been Tim Elliott drama fest. AJ, before we jump into the actual breakdown of the fight, you're fighting a young up and comer. I mean, Altamirano is not super young; he's like 32, but you're fighting an up and comer in this scene. You done fought the best of the best. You fought the Killers Row, and you got all of this craziness, and you have to switch camps, and now he's back in Vegas. I think he's training at Extreme. I'm not sure at the moment, but the point is, how does that affect you mentally going into a fight like this, man? I imagine you would not be able to be fully focused, locked in on a fight camp.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Derek. And I actually think right now Tim Elliott might be in the best situation of the whole situation he's been in for the last couple months. I was watching his pre-fight presser, and he was talking about it that he was hiding his whole situation that he disclosed on Twitter for a couple months, just trying to protect people, trying to not draw attention to himself, because folks, as men and as people, we don't really like to look that we're in a down spot. We don't like to look like we're in need of help or anything like that. But once Tim Elliott finally did reach or at least post the post, he's able to transform a little bit. I was hearing him talk that he was walking around like 120 or something like that, 135, something very small for his normal weight.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was getting injured in camp, always worried about something else going on. Now, with that kind of monkey off his shoulder, he's able to focus in a little bit. So I think he might be in the best spot possible. Or it could all be a front, and this dude is still very much thinking it, because you never really solve problems that fast. You got to work on it. Hopefully he is working on it a little bit more. But I mean, this dude, they call him Awkward, and I believe
Yeah.
his Twitter name is Awkward MMA or something like that. But it's kind of on par for the course. This dude's having an interesting time and go into a fight for his not necessarily career, but for him to make a name and still have that momentum going forward. I think this could be a career altering fight for Tim Elliott if he's able to kind of put the same style on and show the world that it's not really affecting him. Do you think that it's a good look to go into a fight with something this, I mean, impactful in your life going on, Derek?
I think it's good for ratings because people are going to watch the fight probably because of all that's been going on. No, seriously, man. I think that like that's a big part of it. People
Yeah.
are going to be tuned into what is Tim Elliott doing based off of the drama that has been ensuing, right? Look at, and I hate to keep bringing it up, man, but it was the last fight that happened. Mackenzie Dern, same kind of drama, except hers kind of came a little pre-fight, but major after the fight, where there was all types of claims being made, right? People are tuning in for that. And my only question is exactly what you mentioned. Can you fully be locked in or somewhere lingering in the inner chambers of your mind? Are you still thinking about that because it's so closely affected you? These were your training partners. These were the guys who were your road dogs. If you know anything about combat sports, folks, when you go to compete, when you go to do that, it's a different feeling. It's much more intimate. Now, Victor Altamirano, on the other side, I ain't heard not one bit of drama. My man is focused, ready to come in and ready to take a name. And that's the problem that I see here. It's not a matter of who's better. It's a matter of who's better on this specific day. And right now, given all of that's going on, you have to at least edge Victor Altamirano simply due to you don't got all the drama going on. But with that aside, that is our disclaimer for our picks going into this fight, right? You have to keep that in mind. As fighters, two awkward fighters. I will mention this, AJ. What do you make of the claims that it's, I mean, Tim Elliott said it himself. He's like, you know who I am the most successful against? Very technical guys. I have a little bit of a harder time against these awkward guys. For an example, Brandon Royval. He got arm triangled in the second round against Royval. You're fighting a really wacky, unconventional Victor Altamirano. Got this karate style, but will also do crazy. I'm going to throw a two-piece combo and then shoot in and level change and then step back out and then throw a spinning back fist and then get back to the weirdness. How does Tim Elliott take advantage of another goofy, effective style like that?
Tim Elliott needs to stay on the front foot for this fight, not allowing space for Victor Altamirano to actually start getting funky. Because you're right, when Altamirano is on his game, He's throwing that weird stuff, unpredictable stuff that you don't see coming out. That's when he's most dangerous. But the same thing goes for the opposite man in the ring, Tim Elliott. This guy throws that weird. Keeps his hands down, shoulders high. He has a weird style to him, but when he cracks you, it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's on his front foot, dictating the power, dictating the pressure, he's able to control the fight a lot better and see things coming. That's kind of the big thing for me right there. When you're able to see these awkward motions, and that's honestly probably why he fights technical fighters better, because you can see the punches coming a lot better when you know, okay, this is just technically correct. It's sound. It's what everyone else does. When you got that weird guy throwing just out of nowhere stuff at you, it makes it a little more difficult. Just don't give him space. Keep the pressure. Make this fight your fight. Easier said than done. Do you think Tim Elliott can do it?
Yeah, I absolutely think he can do it. You know what I mean? I think this dude's got a wealth of experience that he could lean on. And I also think that when you fight the best of the best, this is not going to be a surprise to you. I mean, you're right. These unorthodox guys, they kind of got the Bobby Green effect. Hands down at your waist, so when the jab pops up, you don't see it coming. Now you're just getting popped in the face. You don't know where it's coming from. I do think that this is going to be the problem, though. So Tim Elliott, you remember his last victory was in March of last year, long time ago, man, and it was against Tagir Ulanbekov. And I don't know if you can recall this far because we watch so many fights week in and week out. That was a controversial fight right there, bro. A lot of people thought Ulanbekov actually got the victory right there. People were crying robbery. I think we broke it down on a robbery report or whatnot. At the end of the day, Tim Elliott got the win. So when you're coming off of a little bit of a controversial win, you dropped your fight before that, and your last real dominant win was Jordan Espinosa. The question is for Victor Altamirano, man, this dude has fought some. He's had some just impressive wins. The Candelario win, the Vinicius Salvador win, those are good wins. Salvador got power. So I don't think that Altamirano, especially because his chin was tested in that fight, I don't think that he's going to be too worried about the power of Elliott. I think it's the other stuff. My question to you is, minus 125 decision for Tim Elliott. If that comes to fruition, AJ, what is the game plan that Tim Elliott's taken to get that decision?
Interesting on the minus 125 decision. I think what they're thinking right there, Derek, is get him to the ground and control him. Don't let that awkward style take into effect. Arguably, Tim Elliott's better on the ground. Arguably, I mean, Victor Altamirano, this dude has, 3 submission victories in his last 10. Very talented on the ground as well. I don't know. What do you think, Derek? Because that's an interesting one for me. I was expecting more leaning towards the TKO. I mean, that's what we've seen with the pressure of Tim Elliott. This dude can crack, but plus 1,300. I mean, they don't think a TKO is happening for either of these guys. What do you think?
My thoughts are that Tim Elliott will be able to outpace Victor Altamirano in rounds 2 and 3. The thing that I did notice, which is a little weird, they're flyweights, right? So they shouldn't be getting super tired, but Altamirano gets a little tired in there. You know what I mean? And that's a concern of mine, just because Tim Elliott, man, this dude does not stop and he doesn't get tired, and he can mix it up and he can control you on the ground. I just think it's going to come down to you have to be effective on the ground here. You can't just sit and just take somebody down and let that be the end all be all. We've seen that it's about damage, not about control anymore. So, I mean, I don't like that minus 125 decision play. I think that you're taking a really risky bet if you're going there. I like the minus 180 Tim Elliott. I would take that way over the minus 125 decision specific prop. But I'm not going to lie, man. I'm going to take Victor Altamirano in this fight. Plus 155 dog here. I think he's got the momentum. He's the up-and-comer. But I have to circle back to the beginning of the conversation. When you have a fight like this where there's so much drama involved, you have one of two ways to go. You could lean into the drama, and it could backfire like it did for Mackenzie Dern, people who betted against her, who bet on Angela Hill. It could backfire, or it could be a spot where, listen, dude, you had to switch up everything. All of your training partners, your coaches, everything had to go. Like, this is drastic. Give me Victor Altamirano. Give me a decision. How do you see it?
Well, as one of the ones that was bet on Angela Hill for the drama, Derek, I'm trying not to repeat that exact same thing. That's why I'm going Tim Elliott. I think he has the kind of mindset that when the doors open, when he's leaving the locker room, he's shaking it off. He's back in his territory now. He's back in the dogfight, and that's where Tim Elliott belongs. I don't like that plus or that minus 125 either, Derek. I'm just going to take the submission. But, folks, if you're betting on this one, I'd also go the minus 180 money line prop. That's the best way to go right here. But since we're picking, give me the submission. Give me a round 3. I agree. I think Victor Altamirano gets a little tired there. We'll see. It's going to be a fun fight regardless with these two.
This should be a little higher on the card, in my opinion. But, yeah, no, fun fight right here. Bet wisely. Choose wisely, folks.